When you try to get bigger, you put yourself into overwhelming situations physically. Muscle only starts to build when you do that. You continue to do your exercise in that situation over and over again until it no longer feels overwhelming. And then you increase the weight and you repeat the process. This is the same with learning. You must put yourself into overwhelming situations. When people want to start learning something new or they want to change their lives, they need to put themselves into overwhelming situations. But they have the wrong mindset, because when they do feel this overwhelming sensations, they're like, oh, I feel overwhelmed, I don't think I can do this anymore. But this is how you learn. In the gym, you get sore the first time, but then you go again and again and again, and eventually this soreness goes away, it disappears. Learning is almost exactly the same. Learning is getting used to this discomfort of not knowing things, the discomfort of not knowing, this discomfort of new things. When you're learning something new, it's okay that doesn't make sense. That's the whole point of learning. Like, imagine I started playing the piano, and from day one I could play La Campanella, which is kind of like one of the hardest songs on the piano. You know the feeling when you're in class, you have no clue what the teacher is talking about. Her words almost feel like that she's speaking some other language, but then you go through the discomfort that because you know that you need to learn this shit, because if you don't, you're gonna fail that exam next week. So you have to learn this, or else you're gonna get a C on that exam. So you keep trying to understand what the teacher is saying and teaching, and finally you get the aha moment, the moment that you're like, oh wait, this isn't that hard, this isn't that confusing. This aha moment only happens when you lean into the discomfort. Bodybuilding and mind building are the same. For bodybuilding, you must eat right to fuel the muscle growth. You must not eat too much, because then the fuel turns into fat. You must train right and consistently. You must avoid the shitty junk food, and you must take rest days for your muscle to actually build. To build your mind, you must increase the resistance of your mind. You must train to take on more emotional labor, to take on more emotional weight. And you do this by showing up to the learning gym, also known as self-education every day. Even if it's just as small as a few minutes every day, it is progress. Learn through books, learn through YouTube videos, learn through podcasts. Just learn to show up to the learning gym every day. You don't go to the gym and start benching 300 pounds, do you? No, you first start benching 10 pounds and then you increase to 15, then 20. And then slowly you keep increasing your weight until you get to 300 pounds. So what you need to do in order to build your mind is to start building something with your mind. Like I am building this YouTube channel. Slowly and steadily, I'm starting to increase the tension my mind can take. In return, I'm learning more. The correct way to learn is by doing. Learn by engaging. Learn by building a project. You need to directly apply what you learn from a book or from a YouTube video into that project. This is why it's so hard to learn in school, because most of the times you don't have any project to put your skills into. Like imagine I learn a calculus formula. Where do I put that knowledge into? Where do I apply it in the real world, into a project? I don't know where to apply it in, so that's why it's kind of hard to learn that. And then when you face resistance in building the project, for example, if I don't know how to build a particular thing in the project, then you must intake more food, more fuel, more knowledge and information to build the project. Before, I struggled to better my audio in my videos. There used to be a frequent mic pops, and sometimes my audio used to get really loud and sometimes really low, and I didn't really know how to solve this. I faced resistance to building my project. So what did I do? I learned how to fix my audio through YouTube videos, and then I directly applied them while I was editing my videos. Those audio problems might still be present in my videos, but it's much better than the previous videos. This way I both learned and applied my knowledge into the project. When you learn to solve problems, you start learning so much more easily. All of a sudden you don't need to memorize or take thousands of notes in order to learn. This is what learning is. You learn to solve problems. When you're learning something, you can really learn all day, but not really learn anything. Kind of reminds me of what Elon Musk said. He said that you have to teach to solve the problems and not teach only about the tools. For example, if you were trying to learn how an engine works, a more traditional school approach would be to learn all about screwdrivers, wrenches, nuts and bolts, and all of the small little tools and things. And there could be a full course on wrenches and screwdrivers. That would be the traditional method to learn about engines. But this way is much more difficult. Then there's this other approach. So here's the engine. How do you take it apart? Oh, you need the screwdriver to do that. So that's what the screwdriver is for. Oh, you need a wrench to take this part apart. Oh, so that's what the wrench is for. And that's how you learn much better. Instead of learning out about the tools, start learning how to solve the problems. When you don't know how to build the project, when you don't know how to build that project, you increase your food intake. You learn more about that particular thing that you're struggling with, and then you continue to build that project. And finally, you must rest to solidify your knowledge. If you want to learn a skill faster, don't start by learning. Start by outlining a project and then start by building that project out. This is how I made progress in the guitar. I could have started by learning all the chords, all the correct ways to position my hand on the guitar, and the correct way to sit and the right way to strum, and this would be a good way to approach the guitar, but this would take much more time to actually make progress on the guitar. Instead I started off by learning a song. That was my project, and then eventually after a week or so I learned the song. There were some problems which I faced, but I looked on YouTube, I researched, and eventually after practicing and trying to do it better the next time, then I repeated the process of learning another song and then did the same thing. This is how I improved my guitar skills. Too many people nowadays get stuck in how-tos and tutorials. This is what Danko calls tutorial hell, stacking up useless knowledge as brain fog. When you read a book and don't put anything that you learn from the book into use, essentially you just wasted hours and hours learning and reading that book. All of that knowledge will eventually go away, or worse, turn into brain fog. You have to put it into use, and the best way to do this is to build a project. If you want to learn how to code, instead of just learning all the specific things, everything about coding, all the specific coding statements, it's better to challenge yourself by having a goal or a project. For example, a small game such as a snake game, and then you learn by facing problems while you're coding that game. Start, encounter a problem, and then seek specific knowledge to solve that problem. This is the proper way to learn. So how do you actually find a project to start and build? Well, it's quite simple. What are your goals? Do you want to make money? Do you want to speak to more people? Do you want to become a better student? What is your goal? Now that you know your goal, what are the skills that you need to accomplish that goal? So if my goal was to make money, I need to learn a high value skill. If my goal was to communicate with more people, I need to learn the skill of communication and articulation. And then if my goal was to become a better student, I needed to learn the skill of doing more question papers, learning more from books, and finding key points from a notebook. That would be the skill that I needed to learn. So what is the skill you need to accomplish your goal? Now that you have your skill, it's time to create the project. If you don't know what project to create, which is common, because I didn't know what project I needed to create to accomplish my goal, which is to make money off of the internet. So I looked at what others were doing. I looked at what others with a similar goal I had was doing, and I emulated them. I kind of copied them. So if you don't know where to start, what project to start with, look at what other people with similar goals or similar skill selection that you have are doing, and then emulate them. For example, I saw what Hamza was doing, and then I kind of copied him. I started off by making self-improvement videos like he did, and then I kind of shifted towards my own specific interests. So in summary, if you don't know what to do, find someone with a similar skill as you and then emulate them. Now that you have your project, you need 2 more things to make this entire thing a reality. First of all, milestones. These are kind of like small goals that you have to accomplish in a week, in a month, and in a year. So what will you accomplish in a week, month, and year? These are your milestones. And then a deadline. So a deadline is basically a must thing that you must do, and if you don't do it, you're fucked. So for me, my deadline is make 1 video per week. If I don't do that, I feel like I failed my goal and I'm not gonna make money online. So I failed my goal of making money online. After this video, when you finally start setting a goal to learn a skill, you must have the mindset that you must build to learn. If you aren't building, you aren't learning. If you don't apply what you're learning from a book or a YouTube video, then you are not learning. You're just stacking up useless information, which is soon to be forgotten brain fog. So in conclusion, if you want to learn any high value skill, you first have to build a project. In order to build your mind, you have to start by building a project with your mind. Your project can be your body. Your project can be a website. Your project can be a small game. Your project can be a YouTube channel. Your project can be anything which can be built. And then you have to learn as you build. So rather than learning everything before you start building, which is pretty much what the school system does, you have to start building, and then as you encounter the problems while you're building, you have to research to learn the problems and then solve the problems while you're building. Finally, to make everything a reality, you must set milestones and deadlines. Milestones for every week, every month, every year, and deadlines that you must have to accomplish your goal. Now you know the proper and correct way to learn any high value skill. You must take action, because if you just watch this video and later on you don't take action, it's simply going to turn into brain fog, which you are going to forget. So you have to take action after this video. By the next video, which will be next week, that's my deadline, I want you to set up a project. I want you to start building the project as soon as possible. Even if it's just a little bit, I want you to start building the project. And finally, if you want to make the entire process of building a project and learning faster, I suggest that you click on this video somewhere over here. It's going to teach you how to learn more faster and more effectively. Anyways, see you in the next one.